There we go.
I'm waiting.
Yeah. Every morning seems just the same old routine. Blowing trees, writing these bars, lying out the line, mining for a diamond, but a dime is what I find. Hiding from the truth by simply coasting through these hard times with green, even though I'm feeling blue. But I gotta face the facts, girl, you know that it's true. And maybe what I'm supposed to do is not to get so close to you. But these days the only things that seem great are fading away. And the only time I feel home is when I'm alone or far away. But the road calls as the wind blows, 10 missed calls on my flip phone, so it stays closed. Staring out my window while my mind slowly goes off into my headphones. Hoping that the dough will be worth it for the show, but who knows? Yeah, let's go and roll it up, blow it all away. No sense in growing up, we laugh like kids all day. And there's nothing you can say that will ever make us change. No, we're never gonna change. And day after day, it's just the same old thing. Working class life, and yes, it surely will bring a food to the table and a roof when it rains. But for the most part, you're just doing the same
All
thing.
right, and we are up and running. That was an interesting problem. Hello, everybody. Today is Sunday, the 24th, and I am Al, and
I'm very confused. What the hell just happened?
Well, I figured out what I did. It was my oops. I apologize, everybody. I do make mistakes on occasion, and that was a doozy. Welcome. Today, in the second hour, we are going to have Lorena. Oh, I hate this.
If someone's last name is something other than Smith, you have the hardest time.
I do. Tomasini. And she will be joining us to dispel a lot of the myths when it comes to end-of-life planning and benefits with regards to the VA. A lot of veterans believe the VA takes care of everything, and she wants to make sure we know what they do and do not handle. So that will be on in the second hour. Hello. Good to see you, Wall. Good to see you, Heath. It's good to see everybody. Thank you for coming. So how has your week been, Mr. Koz?
It's really been a weird week. I took Friday off just because I wanted to squeeze in a very cheap 4-day weekend.
Yes.
So I took 1 day vacation. I get 4 days off.
Okay.
Well, I like that. But I've done really nothing. Nothing more than the normal, man. I just, take care of my grocery shopping, which was kind of abbreviated. I'm going to have a super short week. This is my short week. I'm coming into the short week, so I get to work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then I get Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. So
okay.
It just happens to work out like that. Some weeks we get screwed as far as when holiday days fall during the work week, and this just happens to be one of the good weeks.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, even my wife, she says that she took a day off actually yesterday, and then she has Monday off. So a lot of people are going to have that time off, and people are just getting back to work. So I'm sure a lot of people are like, man, just let me work.
So it's Lorena Tomasini.
Tomasini, thank you.
Tomasini.
Okay, she will be
syncopated name. I like that name, Tomasini.
She will be back. She will be on in the second hour. So we will have that interview to look forward to. So come on, come one, come all, come on in and join. We have all sorts of stuff to talk about and just enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, no one's got work tomorrow, so bring beer.
Amen to that.
So how's everybody doing, man? It's been a good week. I think it's been a good week. Our state's opening up, so that's good.
Yeah.
Other states, not so much. I've been doing a lot of perusing of the YouTube, and a lot of folks are being, just creative people doing funny videos and just kind of doing like blogs, talking about that are from other parts of the country that are still locked down. There's one in Oregon that I was watching, another one in New York City. a guy just like blogging from his apartment. He normally does like home improvement stuff, but he can't do his contracts yet.
Yeah.
So he's been doing music. It's like it's really great, like music reviews. Like send me some songs to listen to, and I'll give you my opinion of them.
Yeah.
He has an eclectic taste in music. He likes he likes rap, he likes rock, he likes country, he likes a bunch of other things. So here he's sitting in his house, wanting to go back to work, but he can't. So he wants to occupy his time. So he's been doing YouTube videos and just giving his opinion on music.
Okay.
But it's just crazy seeing how people are dealing with the way that their local governments are handling things.
Well, exactly. And hey, everybody, I told Koz, I'm going to tell everybody, I get to go camping.
Al is a very, very happy person.
I'm very happy. I've been waiting for this. Apparently, in my state, they finally opened up the campgrounds and said that they finally realized that, gee, if we're camping, we're probably already social distancing. Well, good for you, Walsh. You got work with fast food, and that's good. It's good.
That's really good.
These days, work is work, and especially with what's going on. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've heard a lot of interesting stuff about people. There are places that just aren't going to start that shut down that just aren't going to reopen.
Yeah, the guy from New York said they're looking at the middle of June. I think he said June 13th or something like that, before the state begins to go on to the next phase.
Wow.
That's horrible. I mean, that's really, really bad. And economically, personally, you can't just lock down from the middle of March all the way till now.
No, so and that's
we're at 2 months right now.
You just can't do that. It is doing too many bad things. There are places. I mean, there are places right now that are protesting and rebelling. There are counties that are taking over, and they're saying, you know what? We're going to go ahead and open up, no matter what the state says.
Well, President Trump just recently said, okay, now churches are considered essential and should open up.
Yes. And
which is, I mean, if that's your thing, that's great. But I think it'd be a good idea to stay a couple arms lengths away from other folks.
Well, they can social distance in churches. Unless you've got a full house, you can social distance. And like my mom, she's actually watching they actually have church services from the church she goes to online. So that's not a bad deal.
Yeah, my boss is a religious type of guy, and he goes to church, and they started allowing, and this is Texas. Texas allowed churches to start letting people back in, but only at a very limited capacity.
Yeah,
super limited capacity.
Apparently, you've got
people.
Go ahead.
And there were there was a oh gosh, it just threw me off track. The church that he goes to, it's a Catholic church.
Yeah.
So they allow 25% of the people inside to go, and then they have a big section of the parking lot blocked off, and then you can tune into an FM radio station, and you can hear the sermons and whatnot. And if you want to do communion, you can go and do communion, but then that's like super spaced out and whatnot.
Okay.
So everyone's adapting and doing their thing. Well, you were saying? Nice words from Miss Tina.
Yes, Miss Tina. She loves the video you posted about the gym owner that brought up an awesome point. Who decides what is essential?
Exactly. And the dude has a crazy awesome name. He's a Greek last name. Hold on just a minute. Totally unprepared for this. I apologize.
And Israel, tonight we're talking about things opening up again.
Getting back to normal. I hate that word. The new normal. The new normal.
Oh, I hate that.
We're going to get back to normal. There's no new normal. There's normal and there's not normal.
Exactly. And Koz likes status quo. He likes the normal.
I I don't like the overreach of governments. Anyway, the video that I posted was actually posted by WTF Nation Radio from a former guest of ours. His name is Nick Komalatosis. Komalatosis. That sounds like a disease. But anyway, he is a gym owner in a small town in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And he was cited for he owns a gym. He's got several businesses. He's a wounded veteran. Anyway, he has a gym, and he was not arrested, but he was cited and he was fined.
Yeah.
For opening up his gym, even though he was following all of the CDC guidelines.
And see, I have to agree with the whole who decides, because you have places like Costco, Walmart, all these big stores that are allowed to be open, but then the small mom and pop stuff isn't allowed to be open, even if if you give them the ability and say, okay, we'll let you open, but you have to follow these guidelines. They didn't even do that. They didn't give them the option.
But Nick's contention was, and he kind of boiled it down. He goes, it just seems like all of the big revenue generators for the state are remaining open.
Yes.
Like liquor stores and big box stores. And,
yeah.
But anybody who doesn't or has a marginal income for the state, is being allowed to open. And he said, ironically enough, in the middle of his interview, he said the other day he got a phone call from the tax assessor's office, and they were wondering when he's going to pay his taxes. He said, "Are you serious?"
That's just it. Excuse me, my allergies are kicking up, but that's just it. Who decides? I mean, Trump left it up to the states. And you notice anytime the state goes after someone, he's the first one to sit there and cheer the person who's in trouble.
Right.
And it's like, he's trying to get states to realize you're supposed to be for the little guy. You're supposed to be there for the mom and pop stores. Give them the ability to figure it out, and then, if they don't figure it out, fine them or say, no, you can't be open. But give them the ability to try.
As Americans, we are painfully aware of how things should work.
Yes.
And what the heck is going on. So, yeah, you don't have to tell me to stay away from everybody. I think it's an extra challenge for a gym owner.
Yes.
But even Nick said, if anybody runs a good gym, you got to keep the equipment clean.
Yeah.
Because even when there's not a pandemic floating around, you still need to keep the place clean, or else bad stuff happens.
Exactly. And that's what I saw what the gym owner was doing. I mean, he made sure everybody cleaned up after every machine was cleaned up after anybody used it. They were distanced so they couldn't be right beside each other. I mean, it all made sense. And for some reason, the state still came down. It's like, that doesn't make sense. Why? What reason would you not applaud his attempt and encourage it?
And people are going to do people. I mean, the bills keep coming, right?
Yeah.
Just because you're not allowed to go to work doesn't mean the credit card doesn't want, it doesn't need a payment. Doesn't mean your mortgage company doesn't want a payment. It doesn't mean that your tuition, if you're paying for school or whatever, your bills are due. You got to pay it. You got to go and eat. You got all these bills, and when you don't have any income coming in, you're going to do what you have to do in order to make that happen for you and your family.
And when you're a small business owner, the bills really can pack up. And they sit there and say, well, you've got all these things out there for businesses, all these loans and grants and everything else. And it's like, yeah, but they've even said people aren't getting, the ones who need them are having a very hard time getting them. And at that point, you have to sit there and say, so either get better at it or let these people work.
I read a headline, and I didn't get to the actual story, but it was a salon owner in New York who said that since they've been forced to be closed, he is over $1 million in debt.
Yeah.
That's nuts, dude. I mean, I know New York is super duper expensive, you know, if you're going to lease a building and do that kind of thing. But dang, $1 million.
Yeah, you
That
think
adds
about
up really quick, and it's going to take him forever to dig himself out of that hole.
that, and that's the problem. And there's a lot of places that have said they're not going to open up. They're not going to be able to open up, or they're going to come back, and they're not going to come back better. They're going to come back a lot worse, and they don't know what they're going to be able to deal with. And you just sit there and you go, you know, Trump was trying and is trying to get governors to loosen up.
Well, and he's trying to get these states to be back open again, but the states are doing their own thing. It's like they're almost purposefully, whatever President Trump says is like they're doing the exact opposite.
Oh, most definitely. There are states right now, and I don't like talking politics or anything like that, but there are states right now. Hey, Albert, good to see you. That unfortunately, the states themselves have gotten to that point where you're finding out what the governors are truly like, because those governors are power hungry, and all of a sudden Trump says it's up to the governor. They're like, oh, now I get to do what I want to. And they're trying to make people reliant on the government. They want bigger government. They want more. I mean, you should hear what is it? That bill that came out of Congress, you know, one of the things that I found out got put on it.
Which one is this? The $3 trillion one or the $2.4 trillion?
It was one that the Congress tried to pass.
Oh, the one that just came out of the House that's not going to see the light of day.
Yeah, and part of it was that Congress they were saying, we're going to go ahead and bail out states. They're actually talking about states that were already in debt, were already in trouble, bailing them out rather than making them undo what has caused their problem.
Illinois is a perfect example of that. They're wanting to get bailed out. There are billions and billions of dollars in the hole, and that's from unfunded pension funds. There's Mom told me there's a school principal. She was a principal in the school district for 15 years or so, but she's retired now, and she's collecting, it's like $200 and something thousand a year for being retired.
Yeah.
And that's just what her pension said. And it's not sustainable. And she's not the only one. I mean, police officers and whatnot, they're all members of those certain pension funds.
Well, and unfortunately, that's what happens.
Just because my brother's getting ready to retire,
mm-hmm.
probably within 5 years. And he's got to deal with this.
That's the unfortunate part that happens with unions. Unions will push so hard to get such a high salary and so hard to get high retirements that they're not sustainable. And at some point, someone has to call bankruptcy. People get pissed off, and then they sit there and talk about, oh, well, maybe we should do socialism, because socialism, everybody can retire and everybody's taken care of. Well, look at Greece. Greece right now, the retirement age was something like 40.
Oh my gosh.
No, yeah, you put in 20, 25, I think it was 20 years, and you can retire. Maybe 30. It's something like that. But anyway, they get to the point where their retirement fund is not sustainable anymore, because so many people are retired now that they can't. The children are. It's no longer a fund. It's going from one hand directly to the other. It's that bad.
Greece is in the same boat as Italy is, as far as they have an aging population.
Yes.
They don't have a young population.
And people are talking right now about, you're right. They talk about all this, but about delaying bills, but the bills still pile up. Delaying bills does not help you because at some point you still have to pay them.
Yeah, I just paid my mortgage payment Thursday or Friday or whatever, and there's a little link in there that you can click if you're having a hard time paying. You can defer payment and just pay interest as opposed to the entire payment.
Exactly.
And same with credit cards and whatnot. You can defer and your actual payment and then just pay interest or not pay anything. Just let them know. But the thing is, doing that, the debt is still piling up. It's not like you don't have to pay it anymore. It's they're giving you a reprieve, but you still owe the money.
Exactly. And Albert said he knows people that have their water and their electricity cut off, and that's it. That's what I mean. Trump himself really didn't want to do this. He was basically shamed into it. He didn't want to do a government shutdown. Shoot, during H1N1, they didn't shut down, and they had high fatality rates. The numbers were just outrageous, and they're sitting there saying, "Well," and Obama and Biden weren't scorned for it. It's like, oh, it's no worse than the flu, and it was. Well, they're now saying, well, had we done that, we would have seen higher numbers, but our economy would still be good. And they're like, well, no, you can't do that. The Democrats are saying, no, we have to take care of our population. Well, why didn't they say that back when Obama was in charge? Why didn't they do this back then? Simple, because they knew at that point they were on the hook. If they were to do a shutdown, they knew that they would not be able to pick it up.
So in 2009, during the H1N1 pandemic, it affected 0.001 to 0.007% of the world's population.
Yes. But
according to this, I just pulled this stat up from Biospace.
Okay. Here's the deal. Yeah, it's at this point, there are states that are locking us out, or that are keeping things locked down because they want to see the state fail. They actually want the government to pay their bill. They are literally trying to get the House to pass paying California's bill, New Jersey's bill, New York's bill. All the states that right now had problems beforehand, they want them to balance the books for them and just write them a check. That's what they're trying to do.
We're going through this right now, but I mean, trying to not be very critical.
Yeah.
I understand. I can see both sides of this. I understand why Cuomo is doing what he's doing. I understand why President Trump is doing what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
This thing first started, I saw a quote that was awesome, and I'm going to remember it forever. It says, we will never really know if we overreacted to this situation or not, but we damn sure will know if we underreacted.
And I agree. Excuse me. I agree with that. I think at this point, if we were to keep things shut down, we are overreacting. I think at this point, there are governors talking about
the more that we know. I mean, the longer this thing goes on, the more that we learn as a population, and the more that the medical professionals learn about this Wuhan flu.
Yeah.
So, is there a vaccination? No, there's not.
No.
Vaccination trials are going on right now, and they say that they're about 50% effective. Does that convince you to get a shot if they come out saying, hey, this is a 50-50 shot, this will do good?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. But yeah, the longer this goes on, the more we learn, and the smarter we become.
I agree. I mean, but at the same time, we've got to move forward one way or
900 a
another.
week on unemployment. Damn. Holy cow. But I guess the problem with unemployment right now is, yes, they give you unemployment. It's a pretty good percentage of whatever you were earning. Since they beefed that up with the $2.4 billion stimulus that just came through, they juiced up unemployment insurance for states. The thing about that is you're going to have to pay income taxes on them.
Yes.
And in some states, you're going to have to, state taxes are taken out of that as well.
Well, and here's what Walt just said. About that. We've had 4 people quit work because they're making $900 on unemployment. I mean, that's supposed to be temporary.
Exactly.
And
it's supposed to be temporary. And if you're ever on unemployment, one of the little tick marks that you have to check is I have been looking for gainful employment.
That was taken away.
That was taken away. I think Texas is actually putting that back on.
Okay.
Unemployment is a state thing. It's not a federal program. It's a state program.
Yeah.
See, I got laid off in the midst of a move to Ohio. So I got to Ohio, and I was jobless for like a week or whatever. But first thing you do when you get unemployed is you file for unemployment. It takes a couple of weeks for it to kick in. So I applied in the state of Ohio, and then they sent me a nice letter back that just says, "You just moved here. You can't do that." So I wrote back to Texas, and they're like, "Well, you don't live here anymore."
Oh gosh.
So I was denied through Texas, and denied through the state of Ohio, which is the state that I moved to. I'm back in Texas now, thank God.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. Is at this point, they see the part of the federal guidelines, the ones that got moved. They're going at some point they've got to put them back in place.
Yeah.
Because at that point, the states can't play with those. Because as long as the states can get away with it, they're going to try to get away with it. Because
as long as they can, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the biggest problem I think at this point we're running into is getting people back to work, getting mom and pop shops back open, and getting things moving so that people can get employed, and getting unemployment back to the old pay to where it's not beneficial to be on it. And I think that's just what needs to happen.
For me, that would be it. Almost. I don't think I could do that.
No,
I couldn't just be paid to stay home like that.
I couldn't either.
Crazy. That's why I'll probably never ever retire, unless I found a really badass hobby or. I'd need something to do, and it's not a thing of. It's not a question of money. It's just I couldn't just sit around and do nothing.
Hey, I am retired, and I can't sit around and do nothing. I have things that I do. And while that's just it, socialism demands that people become reliant on the government to the point where the government takes over everything. There's no more mom and pop shops. There's no more private business. Most of it is, unless they're big, most of it is run by the government. They tax...
Or it's whatever work you're doing is for the government, and then they will give you what you need.
And they will take, if you try to start a small company, the good chance is you're not going to make it because they take so much in taxes, there's no way that you're going to get ahead. And that's the idea. You pay heavy, heavy taxes. Everybody, companies and middle class and poverty level, everybody straight across the board pays heavy taxes.
Everybody's equally miserable.
Exactly. So no, well, they want you to depend on them because it's kind of like welfare. people talk about welfare as welfare used to be they gave you food. They didn't give you those EBT cards. They gave you food. You'd have to come pick it up. Your allowance was very small. It wasn't something that you enjoyed being on. And because of PC police out there saying, "Oh, but we can't make them feel bad. They need to feel better." They turned around and gave them the EBT card so they could decide what they ate rather than eating what the government gave them. And two, they have made it so that it's easier and easier to be on. And it used to be
thus the term government cheese.
Exactly. It used to be only women could be on it and only if you had kids. Now they've made it so anybody can be on it. And that's how bad it's gotten. You can be a single young 18-year-old who's capable of working and you can be on welfare. And they cannot get after you and say, "Well, you're young and healthy." If you sit there and say you applied for jobs, even if they are jobs that you are not qualified for, you met your quota that week, they have to keep giving it to you.
When I first got out of the Army, I was hired by DynCorp,
Mm-hmm.
but the job wasn't coming open for about 90 days.
Okay.
So I couldn't report that, yes, I've been hired. So I would apply for, when did I get out of the Army? I got out when I was 20, math. This is the first time I got out was 92. I was in my 20s, my young 20s.
Yeah.
And so here I am. I was working as security in a strip club for cash. It was a cash job.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to report that. But I had to fill out my unemployment stuff and say, "Have you looked for a job?" "Yes, I have looked for a job." "What 3 jobs have you applied for?" And I was going on. I had to go to the library and find companies. And this is way before the dawn of the internet.
Yeah.
So everything was done in person. So I'd go and apply for like management positions and applying to companies that I had no business even being in that building.
Yeah.
But I had to do that just so I can honestly say, yes, I've applied for these positions.
Well, yeah, but there are people that play the system like that, and that's how they stay on it for so long. And Tina?
I did that to put food on my table.
Well, and I understand that. But at some point, you wanted to work, and it wasn't that you didn't. And that's the problem is there are people out there that stay on it for years. And Tina, here's the other problem with it, because you mentioned Hawaii. Hawaii is heavy tax and heavy cost. Everything there is expensive. Their taxes are high. They're very socialistic over there. They believe in spreading the wealth. When you talk to, I've gone on vacation over there. I've talked to locals, and they'll sit there and say, "Yeah, man, there's no such thing as wealthy here." He said the locals. He said you aren't wealthy because you are just even if you make money, you're taxed even that much harder. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that that guy had a problem. And yeah, Branko, I remember you used to actually have stamps when it came to welfare. And see, they sit there and say, "Well, that makes people feel bad." Okay, and I'm not PC. Everybody knows this. Sometimes peer pressure is needed. Having people on welfare for years at a time, and nobody's allowed to say, "Hey, dude, why aren't you working?" At some point,
go
ahead.
My ex-wife used to say, and I believe this: behavior that is rewarded will be repeated.
Yes.
So if you're rewarding someone for doing nothing,
they're
they're
going
going
to
to
keep doing
continue
it.
to do nothing. If you make it a little bit uncomfortable or a little bit challenging for them, you're going to see people rise to the occasion.
And that's just it. With socialism, they want you to be complacent. They want you to be beat down. They want you to take whatever you'll get. Remember, Obama said that what was it, 1.4 growth was the new norm. He said that's the new norm. Accept it.
And then President Trump said, "Hold my beer."
Mm-hmm. And that's just the difference. If you give people incentive, they do rise. They were saying before this whole COVID thing that there were more jobs out there than were people. That's how good our economy was going.
There have always been jobs for everybody. It's just a willingness to do those jobs.
And they're saying now, because so many places are closing up, it may take a little while, but we'll get back there. Who would you really want in charge of it getting back? A socialist on the verge of communism or a capitalist?
I think the United States is poised for super duper growth. I mean, once this thing is gone, and it's going to be gone at some point.
Yes,
we're just going to take off like a rocket ship again.
I'm hoping so.
Speaking of rocket ships, there's going to be another launch in Cape Canaveral on Wednesday.
Isn't that a trip? We're actually going to get our own ship up there again.
A manned space flight.
Yep. That's something. We're back in business. It took a while to get the whole program put back together that was basically scrapped, but we're actually getting people back up and doing our own thing again, rather than taking the globalist attitude of, well, this country will do it and we'll just pay them. That's a globalist attitude. That's what got. Go ahead.
I don't like relying on China or Russia, especially Russia, to here. We're going to send our astronauts over to you guys. Can you blast them off into outer space out of Kyrgyzstan and get them to the International Space Station, please?
Well,
here's several $1 million.
And it's beyond that. That's the whole attitude that got us in trouble with this virus, because we relied on China to give us our supplies. And look how that happened. What happened with that? They purposely screwed us over.
I'm thinking that there's going to be a little bit of bad blood between at least the United States and China. I'm not sure how other countries are going to either react or overreact. But I think the United States is going to be kind of a thorn in China's side, because I think we're going to start pulling back manufacturing and pulling back pharmaceutical stuff. And we're going to be reliant, upon ourselves for things that we need.
Well, we can get away with it because we haven't gone too far into the globalist attitude. But places like the EU, in other words, Europe, they're already in that headset. They're going to have big problems pulling back.
It's definitely a lot more challenging because Brexit actually finally came to fruition.
Yes.
Right before this started.
Yes.
And they've got to fix themselves, or not fix themselves. It's not like they're broke, but they've got to figure out how to be self-sustaining.
But that's only the UK.
Right.
Remember, you're talking Germany, France, Italy, all those countries over there that are part of the EU. They had to rely on China coughing up. They have outsourced so much to become globalist that they found out the hard way, because you heard Italy having problems getting masks. They had problems getting ventilators, all sorts of stuff, and it's because they relied on other countries. And those other countries said, no, we need them. So we'll take care of ourselves first. And boom, all of a sudden, because China had a big order that was supposed to go to us, and they pulled back and said, no, we're going to keep it. And we were supposed to send an order over to Europe on something. Masks. We had a batch we were going to send over there, and we kept ours because Trump pulled out on the Defense Act and said, no, we're keeping them. With 3M, that was it. 3M.
The same company that's on that lawsuit for the earplugs.
Yeah.
So
Walson.
we're on the trailing edge of this COVID thing. I think it's going to go down, and everything's going to get back to normal. It might not be next. It's not going to be next week.
No,
it might be months from now, but we're going to be back to normal at some point. But today, like right before the show started, there was an announcement from the White House saying that they're banning travel from Brazil.
Yes.
Non-U.S. citizens traveling from Brazil to the United States, they're barring entry.
And see, that's why we can say that's what has been warned. Just because we're going to be getting better, there are other countries that haven't even seen it yet that are just now starting to see it because they're entering into what they call their winter. And so they're going to now have to deal with what we've dealt with while we enter into the summer. And that's how they said that we could end up with the problem of, come our winter, it coming back. So the question is, would someone like Biden stop travel from those places that are just getting over the COVID once winter starts coming close to keep us from having another round of it?
I think that and this is just my personal opinion, I think that he would get rid of all of the restrictions.
I guarantee you he would. He's a globalist. He's a globalist and a socialist. He wants what Obama was starting to do and what Hillary was promising to do. In fact, didn't they say right now that Hillary is one of the people being considered for vice president?
What's her name? Stacey Abrams from Georgia.
Yeah,
is the one that everyone's talking about right now.
Yeah,
but or maybe she's talking about it more than everybody else. But that's the news that I'm seeing.
Yeah, and see, if they bring in someone like Hillary, they're counting on the fact that she's going to bring all the people that still wanted her back.
Well, you come to think about it, if Joe Biden is going to pick his vice president, he said it's going to be a female.
Yes.
For his words, it's going to be female. That person, whomever he picks, is going to be the president of the United States.
Yes.
There's no way that Joe Biden can last.
No, I agree.
So whomever he picks as his VP is basically the person that's running for president. That's my opinion. That's a lot of people's opinion, but that's my opinion.
I agree with you. In fact, a lot of people agree with you, including the biased media. They all say whoever you elect behind Biden is probably the person that's going to run or be the one running the country. Hello, Alicia. It is good to see you. So yeah, that's what we have to watch out for. And I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, Biden's ahead in the polls." You know,
I've heard that before.
Yeah, I've heard.
I heard that like 4 years ago.
Exactly. And I think here's the one thing that I'm thinking. There might be another reason that governors are trying to keep a lid on shutdown. How can Trump do his rallies, which always seem to empower people, if they're social distancing or shut down? That's one of the things that you have to think about. Are they purposely trying to keep things from happening? Because they can contain Biden's stupidity.
I don't think he's stupid. I think he's mentally deficient.
Okay, they can contain his mental deficiency because he's only doing a little interview there and a little interview here, and that's about it. Did you hear his latest one? He actually did something where he showed up very racist. And they have tried very hard to cover this up.
Oh, did you see my picture in the team chat?
No, I didn't.
Gosh, I got to send this to you. This is very funny. I don't know if you have the ability to post this here.
Probably.
Oh gosh. This is really, really fun. Yeah, Biden kind of stepped on it. Maybe, did he misspeak? I don't know. I heard the words. He sounded, that's exactly what he wanted to say. So I don't know. Give him the benefit of the doubt and just say it was a faux pas. But no, it sounded really, really bad. He said if you're black and you're on the fence of whether you should vote for Biden or Trump, you're not really black.
Exactly. Here's and John, you brought up a good point. And here's what I think is funny. The media is now proud. Now, we're talking the bias media is very proud at the fact that Biden is ahead in the polls. And they don't get one thing. I think this is so funny. When they sit there and they do that, what are they really doing? They're reminding Republicans they better get their butt out and vote. And they're making other Democrats complacent, if you ask me.
My dad ran for city manager in the city that he works in.
Yeah.
Small city. There were a total of 800 votes cast. He received 200 of them. The incumbent received 600 of them. So he didn't win the election.
Yeah.
But everyone that he talks to is just like, man, we really wanted you. You were my pick. I would want you over him. And overwhelmingly, everyone wanted my dad.
Yes.
And my dad's just like, then vote. There's a bunch of folks that like, well, yeah, I'm going to vote for this person or that person, but they don't get out and vote. They don't actually get out of their house and go to the ballot or they don't go to the election center or wherever you vote, or the courthouse or a church or whatever, and actually cast a ballot. They stayed at home.
Hello.
The next guy is gonna.
Yeah.
This is my person, but I'm just not gonna. I'm not gonna do anything because everyone else is gonna vote.
And see, hello. By the way, hello, Bailey. That's what I think happened. And that's the one last election. What really happened is, one, Hillary got overconfident. They thought that they had states that they ended up not getting. But the other part was people came out to vote because they were scared of Hillary. And because they realized that the Democrats were in the lead. So do I think that the Democrats are doing themselves a favor by saying they're in the lead? No. If I were them, you know what I would be doing? I'd be going, Jesus, people, we are 10 points behind in the polls, 20 points behind in the polls, scaring the bejesus out of people so they would go and vote. But they're not. It's the whole, oh, we're better, we're ahead in the polls. Go ahead, do that. What you're really doing is you're reminding Republicans to go out and vote. And you're reminding independents to go out and vote. That's what you're really doing.
And I'm going to say this till the end of this election season. It's just going to be interesting. It's going to be historic. Just watch. I'm a very big fan of sitting back and watching people.
Oh, I agree.
And it's, man, just seeing the way the media reacts, and then overreacts.
I agree.
Anything.
And with me, I've actually stopped watching all news.
That is a very healthy move.
I'm binge watching stuff just to avoid it because
I started watching. I ran out of all the good shows. I started watching Hangar One. It's like a UFO conspiracy.
Now, did you watch Did you watch iZombie?
iZombie? I don't think so. No, I haven't.
I told you about that one.
Oh, with the girl, the female.
Yeah.
I have not. My last series binge was Ozark, and I loved it.
And see, with me right now, I'm trying to keep things light because there's too many things out there trying to make you emotional, as far as I'm concerned.
Then, if you're trying to keep it light, Ozark is not the series for you, bro.
Exactly. I mean, now get this. I'm watching a show on Netflix that is normally on the Hallmark Channel.
Oh, so it's like a crochet type?
I call it it's like taking Valium on steroids. It's like, oh, wow, really? Cool. It's predictable. It's non-confrontational. It just goes along and blends, and I
I'd
love
watch
it.
something like that if I were gonna want to fall asleep or something.
But it helps me rest.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's the idea. So no, there are right now. I'm not going to start watching politics until the debates. Well, I can't say that until the conventions. And here's the one thing I have a conspiracy theory for you.
You have a conspiracy theory. I have a question for you. So go with your conspiracy theory.
With the Democratic and the Republican national conventions coming up, what do you bet that the Democrats and the Republicans make sure that they find some infected people and send them to the conventions to infect other people to say, "I told you so." And the Democrats would be the ones doing it, though. They'll sit there and say, "We shouldn't have had this gathering," because they're actually the Democrats are trying to come up with a way not to do a full national convention. The Republicans have already said they're going to do it. They're going to do it big. They're going to do it loud. And I'll bet you anything, the Democrats are going, let's send some infected people there.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah. They're going to send, I almost bet they're going to send people who are infected just to make a point.
I tend to think better of people that's borderline evil.
Yeah. But after knowing what they've done as far as all these new investigations with General Flynn, do you really put it past them? There you go.
There's either you're 100% with it or not with it, and there's that 10 or 20% that's still hanging on, going, well, maybe there's a possibility that's going to happen.
I mean, they destroyed this man's life. He lost everything.
Do you think he's angry?
He lost his retirement.
He did. It's looking like that's all going to get
reinstated.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the judge that's over him right now is prolonging the pain.
Oh, very much, very much.
And see, that's what I mean. That's not nice. That's not.
What's
honorable.
Not nice?
Go ahead.
Keeping our guest waiting.
Oh, you're right. We need to go ahead and break. Okay, everybody. We have a guest in the second hour. Lorena Tomasini will be joining us Tomasini to dispel a lot of the myths that surround the end-of-life planning and benefits with regards to the VA. She will be in the second hour. Please stick around. I am myself interested in what she has to say. So stick around. We're going to go ahead and take 10 minutes. We will be back in approximately 10 minutes. Shots.
I'm going to be here.
What?
I'm going to be here. I'm here for the full 2 hours, bro.
Yeah. Koz is going to be here. Everybody, so remember, Koz is going to be here. So don't go away. He's going to be here with the interview also. So again, shots.
Too hot to handle, I'm a countryman now. Get your fill now, cause the contraband's out. Yankee boy, no, I ain't from the South. But if you're talking to me, you better watch your mouth. Lit up like a stove, I'm a country campfire. Best of the best and the rest you can't find. Chillin' with blues, rock and roll, and cheap wine. That's how the story's told, so it goes through the grapevine. Keep me drinking this whiskey, leave my head banging like an 808. Living this life seems risky, but it's the only way left to escape. Mama keeps saying she'll miss me, can't blame her for all my hate. Keep me drinking this whiskey until the day that I'm laying in my grave. I'm telling you, man, you know this real shit's hard. Work a full-time job, I'm still stuck in a box. Breaking my back, trying to save up a stack. But every time I go forward, man, I just go back. I need new strings and the homies in jail. I put money on his books, but he's still gonna fail. His board's high and his half-ass due. I don't like to spend cash if I know I'ma lose. I got no time like you seem to do. I'd rather spend my money, get my kids some shoes. I made mistakes just like we all do. It's time to pay for my crimes, man, I'll pay my dues. Keep me drinking this whiskey, leave my head banging like an 808. Living this life seems risky, but it's the only way left to escape. Mama keeps saying she'll miss me, can't blame her for all my hate. Keep me drinking this whiskey until the day that I'm laying in my grave.
For coffee on a Tuesday, it's already been a bad week. My girls had a couple flats, my dishwasher sprung a leak. From the kitchen, her complaining, you know it just ain't cute anymore. I get the kitchen, it starts drifting towards the great outdoors. I smell the honeysuckle blooms, I can see the red buds too. In my garage, I got rods up on the wall. I got a John boat in the yard under a faded camo tarp. I need a reset to my spot. I hear the call. Just gone fishing, let her know that I ain't gone. Junk mail don't come out there, my phone won't ring. The only thing I want to hear is my reel with a big one on the string. That large mouth don't talk at all, and my weight just sinks away. Set him free, bring him home. One decision I gotta make. I smell the honeysuckle blooms, I can see the red buds too. In my garage, I got rods up on the wall. I got a John boat in the yard under a faded camo tarp. I need a reset to my spot. I hear the call. Just gone fishing, let her know that I ain't gone. I got my tackle box in the front seat and my best friend in the bed. Don't come looking for me, 'cause I ain't coming home till long after that sunset. I smell the honeysuckle blooms, I can see the red buds too. I got the rods in my garage now. Threw my John boat in the truck, filled my camo cooler up. I hit the reset in my spot and heeded that call. Just gone fishing, let her know that I ain't gone. No, I ain't gone missing, just gone fishing, let her know that I ain't gone.
condom? We're in Fayetteville. No one gets STDs here.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.
All right, everybody, we are back. Give me half a second as I type in for our guest.
Condom in Fayetteville?
There we go. Got her. And add. Let's see if she answers.
Maybe we'll do like me, like at 3:30 this afternoon. I'm like, you know what? I can afford to lay down and take a nap.
Well, hello. How are you, Lorena?
I'm doing good, and you?
I'm doing wonderful. I managed to do it without messing up. You still here, Koz?
I am still here. This is great. Hi, Lorena. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Koz and Owl. Thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome, and thank you for coming. All right. Tonight we're going to be talking about the VA and the myths that goes into end-of-life planning and the benefits that you do or may not have, and what you can do and what you can't do. It's kind of that question and answer time, everybody. If you got questions, put them out there. And Miss Lorena, I'm going to let you take it away. You tell us what you want to talk about.
Sure, thank you. So, so I've been doing life and health insurance for about 13 years now. And I've noticed in the veteran community a lot of questions about, if I pass away, the VA will take care of that for me. And I just want to clear up a few things about that. I don't know if you guys want me to just get into it or you guys ask me questions. I'm not really sure there.
We can just
how we want to do it.
But can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Are you a veteran? Have you served, or do you work with the VA? Or
yeah, thank you. So I'm not a veteran, but I do have a lot of clients that are veterans.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't work for the VA. I'm not a government agency or anything like that. I am an insurance broker, and what that means is that I represent different carriers, right? Different companies to find the best solution for the person, right? It could be, because of a health issue or a budget. We have different companies for different reasons.
Yes.
And I'm licensed here in Florida and Nebraska. And so what I want to talk about today is just general information, that people can have.
Well, thank you.
Let's jump into it head first.
Yeah, go ahead. We want to lay it out on the table. Educate us.
Okay, awesome. So, a lot of times when I meet with clients that are veterans, a common objection or concern that I get from them is like, oh, well, why do I need to get extra life insurance if the VA will take care of all of my burial and all of my final expenses when I pass away? So I'm looking here at the VA website. If you go to va.gov, there's a section there about burials and all of that. And it clearly states there that for non-service connected deaths, what they pay is a $300 burial allowance and $780 for a plot. Which, if we look at the rates of what burial and plots and things like that cost, with opening and closing and all these other expenses that we need to add in there, a funeral usually costs about $10,000 to $15,000 minimum. So obviously that amount that you're getting from the VA, won't be enough for your family to take care of that cost.
That's kind of what believe it or not, I'm kind of old, and when I was a kid, they actually taught stuff like this. What you're talking about, not for veterans, but for economics. They explain to you that just because you have life insurance doesn't always mean it covers everything. And they got into costs of burying a person,
Right.
cremation, plots, um, memorials, so on and so forth. And it is expensive. And the numbers you threw out there kind of even surprised me, because that really doesn't even, that's like 1/10 to 1/15 of what you're actually going to need.
Yes, definitely. And it's not enough, and that's why I think it's important to plan ahead. So that way it's not something your family or your spouse, who's left behind, would have to take care of that. And those are just, low ball numbers. Everything depends to where you live, or if you say, oh, I want to get buried, at a,
More expensive
I'm sorry,
cemetery.
I was looking for something here. It depends too. If you don't want to get buried like in your state, you want to get buried somewhere else. There's also the cost of travel, right? That we need to calculate in
Yeah.
there as well. Um, and money, it's not going to solve that person's passing away, right? Emotionally, everyone's still devastated, but at least it's something less that the family has to worry about. Things are hard enough as they are, with the majority of people living paycheck to paycheck, right?
Exactly.
And if we need to add on top of that, somebody's unexpected passing, it's tough to just take out 10 grand, 15 grand, whatever the case might be, right? Obviously, cremations are a little bit less than that, but it's not really that much less.
No.
So yeah, so this is something I like to talk about. I mean, it's what I do, right? So I really wanted to talk about this because I just had a client of mine that their father was actually a veteran, and when my client called me about life insurance, obviously it's too late at that time when somebody's already in the hospital or so forth. But yeah, they were shocked to learn that the VA doesn't pay that much as what they thought. The kids thought that the VA was going to take care of everything, and they wouldn't have to worry about that. So that's why it's good to have some life insurance on the side. You know, I understand you can also have life insurance through the armed forces, right?
Yes.
But it's always good to have something extra. Hmm.
And that's one thing that I know about, because again, that was brought up in our school, and two, my dad was actually a pastor, so he always talked about stuff
Okay.
like that. And some of the stuff that's brought up, one, you can clear this up to me. There's two types of insurance. There's annuities, and there's one other. One you pay one time into, and then the interest is supposed to build up. And when you die at a certain point, it's supposed to be at this certain marker, and you get that money. I don't remember what that is. Is it term life insurance?
No, so that sounds a little bit, I'm not sure what you mean by the marker, but there's something called like a single premium
Yes. Yes.
type of policy, and that just means you pay one premium. So you pay, I don't know, $5,000 to put an example, right? And then
Yeah.
that would give you X amount of death benefit when you pass away to your beneficiaries. Mhm.
And see, a lot of guys don't know. There are insurances out there that you can pay that are more than that. You can just pay a one time. You don't have to pay on a monthly, because a lot of us know, us guys know. To ask us to build up to a specific amount, we might be able to pull it off, but paying monthly, a lot of times that wears on us, and at some point we're going to forget it, or we're going to ask if we really want it.
Exactly. So the other option, because people don't like monthly payments sometimes, and I get that, is you can also opt for the annual payments if maybe you can't do, the single premium.
Yeah.
So an annual payment is you just pay it once a year, and they take it out of your checking or savings account once a year,
Yeah.
right? So with life insurance, there are different types of life insurance, right? So this is like life insurance 101. I'm gonna try to make it as fun as possible for the
This
audience
this
here.
is awesome.
Now, Kaz,
Okay.
you should be listening. You are old too.
Right? Yeah, so term insurance, it's what we hear often about, and that's really a life insurance policy that will last a certain amount of years.
Mhm.
So it'll last, for example, 10 years, 15 years, 20, or 30 years. Okay. So it also depends how much time you can buy based on your age, right? So that's a factor. But let's say you buy a 10-year term, just to put a number out there.
Yeah.
So that policy will last until the year 2030. Okay. So if the person doesn't pass away within those 10 years, then, the family wouldn't receive any benefit. Okay. Now that's the most affordable option. And it's something, you can do to have some coverage. Um, and it's, a lot of people start there because it's what they can afford to get, and it gives them enough coverage, right? But I look at that kind of like renting in a sense, right? Because you don't have any money you can take out of that policy, and after 10 years, you don't have any more life insurance. Okay. So the other options are permanent plans. And permanent plans, the way that they work is whatever price you get it at today, right? It stays the same for the lifetime of the policy as long as you pay the premium every year, or if you bought it just once, right, with the single premium. Um, then your family, you always have peace of mind that no matter when that happens, your family will receive the death benefit. Okay.
Yes.
So I hope that that's easy. And with the permanent plans, you also do build what we call cash value. It's just like a savings account, let's say. It's not a savings account, but part of what you pay every year, every month goes to that account. So you can also take out money from there. So it's kind of like when you buy a house, right? Where you have equity
Yes.
inside of the mortgage that you can use. So I hope that
I look at
helps.
the insurance you talked about first as kind of a leasing time in in an apocalyptic bunker. You're betting that 2 weeks out of the year that you're allowed to go into that bunker, that's when the apocalypse is going to happen.
Right. That's a great example there. Yeah. And then the other big factor with just getting a term policy is that you're playing with your health,
Mhm.
right? Because in order to qualify for life insurance, health is a factor, right? Now there are certain policies out there, and these are permanent plans that don't really ask a lot of questions, right? Because if people are like over 50, they know they might have certain health conditions, right? So there are specific policies for people with health concerns, right?
Yes.
But those are permanent plans. But if you buy a term, and let's say the 10 years is up, what happens if in those 10 years that person had something like a heart attack or cancer, right?
Yeah.
It would be a lot harder for them to then go and get life insurance, right? And just based on numbers, it would be more costly even if they didn't have a health issue, right? Because if let's say they were 50 when they bought it and now they're 60, insurance costs more, right? The older that you are.
And something I wanted to bring up, excuse me, for those of you that don't know, the insurance that you had when you were in the service, you can carry out when you go out. The one thing I'll warn you about, though, okay, you may not think much about it now, but your insurance does in the military that you had in the military, they allow you to up the coverage, but you pay quite a bit. And once you hit a certain age, you have to every 5 years your um, payment goes up. I went from originally having what was it, a $40 payment, somewhere around $40. I'm
Mhm.
up to $100.50.
Wow.
And so you guys think carefully. Now, I carry my military insurance. Now my wife and I have talked about even getting another insurance policy
Mhm.
just to be a quick, because some insurance companies are quick on payouts, some are not. And when you have a death, the first thing you want is not to have to worry about, well, I have to put it on my credit card or I'm going to have to take out a loan until the insurance company comes out with it.
Right.
And that's one of the things that has to be considered when you're doing this, guys, is look at the ratings on some of these places and make sure that how good are they on their payout? Do they take a long time or not? And maybe you can help with that.
When you're active in the military, you pay what, $25 a month.
Yep.
In premiums, and now, I mean, when I was in, it was like $200,000 in coverage. Now it's at $400,000.
Yeah.
And that continues until you're out of the military 120 days. After that, you have the choice for, it's kind of like hitting Cobra.
Mm-hmm.
There's an extra, I mean, it becomes more expensive to continue that kind of coverage. So this is, I think what we're talking about is something beyond your service time.
Yes.
Yes, and it's important. I wasn't aware of that every 5 years it would increase. So yeah, that's one factor to look at. The money factor as well, and it's just having peace of mind that your family doesn't have to worry about, like you said, okay, we put it on a credit card, or we do this. A lot of people, their credit limit might not be
good enough.
enough to cover funerals and things like that, right? And we're just talking basics of funerals, but there's also, depending on people's ages, right? There's a lot of other factors to look at.
Yes.
The income replacement factor, right? If you pass away, well, how's your spouse going to continue paying the mortgage, paying the bills, taking care of the kids if you have kids, right?
Yeah.
All those things that are important when somebody passes away. So it's great, yes, that you have benefits because you were a veteran, but it's also good to always have something on your own. It's just like people that only rely on coverage through their employer. Okay, you have something, but what if tomorrow you're no longer working there, right? And
exactly.
So again, it's always good to just have something on your own. And one thing I will mention, you guys brought up a good point about how long does it take to pay out a death claim, right? And yes, that does vary based by company. So that's always a good question to ask the agent that you're speaking with. Hey, if I have a claim on this company in particular, how long would the claim take to pay out, right?
Yeah.
But another thing is that life insurance policy, you can take that to the funeral home, right? And let them know, hey, I have this life insurance policy. So that way that funeral home won't put as much issues in taking care of everything because they know that you will get paid.
I didn't think about that.
It doesn't matter how long it takes. I mean, it's coming eventually.
Exactly.
This is kind of a morbid conversation. Like, I mean, really,
we need to have it.
No one likes to think about. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna kick the can at some point.
Right.
But you don't know. You can't choose that date.
No.
So it's really good to have some kind of a safety net, and I get it, and I really have a lot of respect for you, Lorena. It's just, I imagine this is a hard profession to be in because you're talking about, hey man, you're gonna die.
So It is. Go ahead.
So how are you going to take care of your family? And a lot of people will get out of the military, and veterans will go. I mean, they're going to spend their time in their service, and they're going to get out, and they're going to find other employments, or they're going to find something else to do that are going to carry insurances.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, and I'm just going to talk about myself in particular. I've got really good life insurance.
Yeah,
I like it, and it's like I'm covered up to the point where, right just south of the point where you need to have a big old exam and all this other stuff.
Right.
It's like $400,000.
So you've got me down as your son, right?
Absolutely. But there are things. I mean, it's always good, and really, life insurance doesn't cost a lot of money.
No.
You're kind of betting you're going to die, and they're going to bet you're going to survive. Is kind of how insurance works.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's another misconception I hear often is, oh no, life insurance is too costly. But then when I do the numbers for them, they're like, oh, this only costs, it costs less than my cell phone bill, and I like to bring that one up because a lot of times our phones have more insurance than our own lives, and I will say, a lot of what I do, it's not an easy conversation to have, but I think it's an important conversation for people to have once, twice in their lifetime at least. Um, and I especially like a lot of what I do because it's not just talking about, oh, if you pass away and, things like that. Yes, we all have to plan for that, but it's also talking about what happens along the way. So a lot of life insurance companies nowadays, um, include something called living benefits. And what this means is that, let's say that person gets diagnosed with something like cancer, heart attack, stroke. Nowadays, with all the medical advances and everything, we won't likely pass away from that, right?
Yeah.
No, it's
But
going to be COVID-19. Everyone's going to die from COVID-19.
that's the next one. But something like a cancer diagnosis, it's something life changing, not just for the person going through that, but also for the family. And maybe people need to take time off work to deal with this issue, but the bills are still there. So, going back to the life insurance with this, you can actually now accelerate part of your death benefit. If you're diagnosed with something like cancer, heart attack, stroke, it's called a critical illness or a chronic illness, depending on the condition. Um, but it's also having that peace of mind that while we're living and taking care of our daily things, if something like this happens, you know, um, you know that your life insurance can be there for you.
Well, and again, this is stuff we were kind of talking about, what would you talk about when you're going to come on, and we weren't quite sure. But this is good information, guys. Talking to the audience, this is stuff that we need to know. And you guys may sit there and say, "Well, you're young." Okay, I was 100% at the age of 28, guys, and they told me I was going to die by the age of 50. That's not that old,
Wow.
and I've made it actually 52. I'm now 57. Am I 50? I'm 57 now. Dang. And you guys
Well,
got to remember
congratulations.
that things can come up.
Says the 30-year-old.
Things are going to come up, and this is one thing you have to realize. You've heard guys talk about Agent Orange. You've heard them talk about um, the Gulf War syndrome, and you've heard about all these things that come up that can it can put you in a position very quickly without really knowing that if you're going to make it through. And if you aren't prepared when you first get out, you're sitting there going, "Okay, I'm healthy as a horse," but you don't know that. The guys that got out who had Agent Orange, they thought they were healthy as a horse also. The guys who had Gulf War syndrome, they thought they were healthy as a horse also, until
Wow.
they weren't.
You don't. Yeah, I mean, you can't pick and choose the day that you're going to punch out.
Exactly. And
Right.
you can't choose your age. The best thing you can do is when you get out, even if it's just a small policy at first, make sure at least that you cover the fact that you want to be buried. Now, like she said, there are the insurance policies aren't that expensive. You can get insurance policies that are not that expensive, and if you get them early enough when you are younger, they are
You got to lock in that cost.
exactly.
Lock in that cost young.
The permanent plans for people that are, at any age, you can get a permanent plan. But obviously, the younger you are, the more affordable it's going to be, right? Because of your age and your health and a lot of different factors. So, imagine if you're paying the same price when you're 60 that you were paying when you were 30. That's a great deal, just financially speaking.
And see, with the military one, that when you get out, the the military, the VA offers you a life insurance plan. They don't tell you that it's going to go up when you hit a certain age.
Mm.
They don't tell you that. Okay, they allowed me to up my coverage because I started out at 100,000. I'm up to 150,000 now, but they don't tell you that even without increasing that coverage, my payments would have gone up $40 a month.
Yeah, because what happens, it seems like, based on what you were talking about before, is that it's really a 5-year term. That what happens is every 5 years it just auto renews
Yes.
at the new price. So obviously, if you were 40 when you first got it and now you're 45, it's going to be more costly. But if we fast forward that same scenario to now you're 65, right? It's obviously going to be a lot more
Exactly.
expensive, you know.
And for you
But
guys
it's
that
still good coverage to have,
Oh,
you
yes.
know, if you can maintain the price, because it seems like it just auto renews no matter what's going on with someone's health, you know.
And for you guys that don't know, we get OSGLI. It's no longer through the government. It's through Prudential. So the government no longer handles it. That happened during the Obama years. It turned into now it's handled by Prudential, and the government doesn't keep a hand on it anymore. They don't keep our costs down. So
Mm.
that's for you guys to know. Your
It's important to shop around.
your
You
rate
gotta
is
shop.
going to go up. Go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah. Shop around like everything else, and like I always say, like I'm a broker. Like I said earlier, that just means that I represent different companies. So instead of you sitting there in front of Google searching for life insurance, you know, you're gonna get bombarded with like 10,000 calls if you fill
The
out one of those forms.
very first time you fill out that personal information sheet, you're going to get phone calls and emails and phone calls and text messages, and oh my gosh.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, and it's nonstop. You know, I I've been on the receiving end of calls just for filling out a form, so I understand how annoying that can be. And you know, and you don't even know if the person on the other end is somebody that's been doing this a long time or they just started. You know, so you know you can Google, you know, insurance broker in your city or your area, your zip code, right? And try to do it that way, or you know, just ask your friends and family for a recommendation. You know, because it's not just, oh, I want 200,000 in life insurance. Let me see what that costs. You know, there's a lot of other factors to look at. You know, should you do it with a medical exam, without a medical exam? You know, and that's part of my job.
So
That's what I do. You know, I look at that.
what's the typical dollar amount limit that where is the threshold where you would require a medical exam where you wouldn't? I mean,
Yeah, so the interesting thing is right now with everything going on with COVID, there's been a lot of changes in the industry.
already. Wow.
Yeah, and that have actually been very favorable for people. So right now, with some companies, you can get up to 1 million or up to 2 million in coverage, depending on the company and your
Really?
age, right? Without doing a medical exam, and on top of that, you could still qualify for like better rates. So what I mean by that is that you usually have like a standard price, like you're 40 and the insurance at your age costs this much, right?
Mhm.
And then you would do like a physical exam. So the company would say, okay, so instead of this costing you $100 a month, you can get the same insurance for 70, right? Because your health is better than the average person your age, for example, right? So now you can still qualify for that better price even without doing a physical. Okay. So that's actually good news
Wow.
for a lot of people because you can get up to 1 million or 2 million in coverage, and that can be either in a permanent plan or a term, you know.
Wow, Koz. Gee, can I have your information?
Oh, and like I mentioned earlier, in case somebody's tuning in now, I'm only licensed in Florida and Nebraska, so everything I'm sharing is just based
Florida and
here,
Nebraska.
but it's just general information. You do need to find what's going on in your state.
Well, I'm
Mhm.
talking Koz. Give me your information. I'm going to insure you, bud.
Well, Lorena, you talk on the insurance side. Do you have any experience on wills, preparing wills, or estate planning, legacy planning, that kind of?
Yeah. So I don't really have experience with that, but I will tell you, a few years ago I did become a notary because I thought, I could help parents with getting wills. Because here in Florida, you just fill out a form, right, of who you want to be the guardian and things like that, and you just need to get it notarized.
Yeah.
So that is something very important to do, and I think it's part of when you're looking at things like life insurance and things like that. That is important. If you have children, make sure that who would be guardians if something were to happen to maybe you and your spouse, right? Have that in writing. If you have property, right? All that type of stuff where you want it to get done. Now, you brought up a good point there with wills. It reminds me that whoever you designate as a beneficiary, that means the person who receives the death benefit, right? That's who's going to receive it. So if you put that you want to split it, let's say you don't have a spouse, but you have a brother and a sister, right? And you want them to split the death benefit evenly, then you would put, my sister and my brother, they each get 50% of the death benefit. And here in Florida, any life insurance avoids probate. So what that means is that it's not, you can't contest that in court. It's
Probate
whatever the person said. So
probate is horrible, man.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
probate is pretty bad, yeah. But I do have like an estate planning attorney that I do refer cases out, that
'Cause
for people that have something more advanced.
it would be also good to not only just have a will, but have a trust set up if you have kids, and they may or may not be adults yet, but they're old enough to reap the benefits or whatever. So if I die, you set up a trust, and it's like, okay, it's like an allowance. I'm going to, and you just outline whatever your instructions are.
Yep.
Exactly.
Here's a bucket of cash. You can use it for your education. If you don't use it for your education, you're going to have to wait until you're 35 to pay it.
And here's the other part you guys need to know also. For those of you that have the ability to go on base, and remember, they just opened up those great new VA, where if you've got a VA card connected service, you can get on. If you go to the JAG office, they will do wills for free.
Also,
there you go.
Also, I've pinned a comment here. I know we're broadcasting on many platforms, but right now there is a link that I've pinned on the WTF Nation radio page where folks are watching here, and it's a link to the VA, and it's a planning legacy booklet, and it's a 60-page. It's a 4 meg download is what it is, but it's a list. It's of everything that you would ever need to plan for your untimely passing, because whenever you die, that's pretty unexpected, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about you die in combat, but this is I guess from a veteran person, I've done my time. I'm a veteran. I'm very, very proud of it, but it's always good to plan for your untimely passing. So it's just a checklist. It's 60 pages long. There's a lot of information there. There's a lot of things to fill out, and it's really great information.
Yes, 60 pages sounds like enough, but I think that's a great resource to have.
And I just sent it through what I can do, so it hit a couple other places also.
Thank you.
So everybody, we don't like talking about death on here. I mean, everybody knows. Koz and I try to stay positive to a point. But this is important because I've been a pastor's kid. The one thing that I do see, or did see a lot of, is when couples are young, they're in their 20s, and something sudden happens and they weren't taken care of, or worse yet, like with me, I'm on disability, both through the military, the VA, and Social Security, and all that, and everybody says, "Oh, you're covered," and it's like, not as much as you think.
Right.
There is stuff you have to do. I mean, I've heard if you've put in honorable time, if your discharge was honorable, you can ask to be put into a military cemetery. But if you don't make the arrangements ahead of time, you ain't getting in. You have to do stuff ahead of time. If you don't, you put a lot of burden, and I mean not just a little, a lot of burden on your loved ones. Or even if you don't have a spouse, you're putting a lot of burden on your parents or
Yeah,
anybody who's going to try to clean it up. It's not fun. It is really, it becomes a mess very quick. And sitting there saying, "Oh well, that money isn't." Believe it or not, it's helpful. It's not like the money's going to take care of everything, but it is at least going to make it so that when costs come up, they're paid.
exactly. Yeah. And you brought up going to church or being a pastor's son, right?
Yes.
And I see often on social media, like GoFundMe pages because somebody passed away unexpectedly. And that always breaks my heart because to me, it feels like, I remember being at church and somebody had passed away and they passed like, like the offering thing so we could like put money in there, and that's what I feel like today is happening with these GoFundMe pages that we see all the time. And to me, it's like if we could be financially responsible, not just for ourselves, but for those that we leave behind so that they don't have to have that burden. We can take care of this with 30, 60, $70 a month. It's not that costly. It all depends on what you're looking to do, and what your budget is. But there's always something within your budget, hopefully, that can be done,
One of our
Um,
one of our top fans, Wallbreaker, says, "Why does death cost more than life?"
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it's just like everything. Everything costs money, So when somebody's born, that costs a lot of money, right? And then as we live, it costs a lot, but then also, everything is a business, like they say, and unfortunately, that's just another one, the funeral homes and all that stuff. Hmm.
I'm gonna say this. Everybody says, "Well, what about why does it cost so much to get buried, so on and so forth?" Okay, gonna give you an idea of this. Okay, if you get cremated, the person who's doing your cremation has to get inspected constantly for his facility. He's got to pay that. He's got to pay property taxes for the facility that he's upkeeping.
Hmm.
He has permits for every death or every cremation he does. He has to get permits. Then you get to the cemetery. That's land. They have to pay property taxes. They have to pay special taxes because they're a cemetery. And then they have upkeep because everybody talks about wanting a pretty lawn and all that. That's upkeep. And you're paying that this whole time. Okay. That's what you're paying with your plots, your cemetery, your buildings that, like if you have a memorial. Well, a lot of people have the memorials in the funeral home. Well, that funeral home has to pay property taxes. They have to pay certain permits. If you want a procession, they have to pay the city for a procession. There's all
Right.
sorts of things.
Economically speaking, the more people that die, the cheaper it would become if you spread the cost across the board. I'm being an asshole. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you are.
Well, that's what it is with life insurance. It's the risk, the law of large numbers, right? You spread the risk among a whole bunch of people. You
Yeah.
know.
John said his father is a mortician, and it's very expensive, and that's just it. He has to pay
Hmm.
permits. He has to have inspections. He has to keep up on his school, just like anybody who has any trained job. You have to keep up on your education. You have to go to conferences. You have to go to seminars. That's part of your education. You're paying for all these things. Embalming
Right.
fluid. It becomes very, very expensive. And like I said, even though cremation is not as expensive, you're still paying because how many places that put pollutants in the air now have to pay a special tax, and they have to have special filters, and they have to make sure that their ovens hit a specific degree temperature for a certain amount of time to make sure that your body's broke down enough to where the government says, okay, you've done your job. This is all the stuff that you go through. So yeah, it's not cheap. And back when I went through, they were talking it used to cost $5,000 to be buried.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's up to 15, and that's not a bad cost of living increase considering when I went to school it was 1981. So
Right. That's not too bad. But yeah, like here in Florida, cremation can cost anywhere from 4 to 8 thousand, because again, it's all the things, right? All
exactly.
those added costs. So I mean, Florida's, it's pretty expensive for a lot of stuff. I live in Miami, and the cost of living here for everything is, I don't know. People tell me it's more costly than where they're from,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's certainly things to think about. And, and again, it's so that your family doesn't have that burden to now have to run and figure out where that happens. Even though we talk about death being unexpected, a lot of times it's not. I had to go through my father when he passed away. We knew it was coming because he had been in the hospital for, a month or two, and we just knew his health was
Yeah.
not going to come back from where it was. And, at least the life insurance that he had, we're six kids in total, seven kids in total. And we knew that he had life insurance, so we didn't have to have that worry about, oh, how do we fly in all the kids who now live in different states. So it was just having that peace of mind, not only that we had for the burial, but a little bit extra for the all those other costs, that are unexpected costs like travel and
There you go.
hotel stays, whatever it might be for the funeral procession.
And
So
that's the other thing
one of
that a
our
lot of people don't think about is, okay, say someone dies. What about the people that, if you got kids, what about the kids that aren't living in the same town? They're going to have to travel, and sometimes they have to pay those bills, and and they want to be there, but they're going to have to pay out of pocket.
Right.
This is the type of stuff that you need to think about and the reason you do it.
So, as far as the cost of either a burial or a cremation, do you think the cost of cremation has increased because of the cost of burial? Are they kind of tracking the cost of burial just to be competitive?
Yeah, I think with the burial, it's like you guys were saying that there's all these costs, right? The upkeep and everything else. And then the cremation, yeah, a lot of people do the cremation, but they still want to do a service, right?
Yep.
The open and close, and I don't know. I would feel bad if I just cremated a relative and you didn't give their friends and family a time to grieve properly,
viewing.
right? So all of that stuff adds to the cremation. So it's not just the cremation; it's everything else that comes along with that.
So it's not just lighting the fire; it's the urn, it's the memorial afterwards. It's I'm sorry to be so blunt,
And the
but,
showing
this is
beforehand,
how I-
because a lot of people want to see the person before they're actually cremated.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of costs, and it does add up. And normally, would I sit here and talk about this and really try not, you guys know I'm positive, and Koz is positive. But this is
Yeah,
something,
I hope this isn't a negative conversation. It's just something that I think a lot of times we don't stop to think about,
and
and it's just information for people to say, hey, I've thought about it, but I've never really sat down with someone or whatever the case might be. And it's not we're not like I say, it's not that we're like vultures hoping that people pass away. I hope the majority of my clients never have to use their death their policies for years to come. But it's just having that peace of mind. if I can give you guys a quick story that I think will help put
Sure.
things in perspective a little bit for maybe some of the listeners.
Okay.
I had a teacher that had retired recently. Um, and so I went to visit her because she wanted to get some life insurance because the one she had through her job, it left once she retired. It was no longer there. So this lady bought a policy from me, and 2 months later, I got a call from the spouse who I had met that day, that the spouse died of a massive heart attack at the hospital. So I was shocked, when I heard that because my client seemed relatively healthy based on, all of our conversations and the medical and all that stuff. So it was shocking to me. But to me, as an insurance agent, we talked a little bit about what I do is hard, yes, but I also know that what I do has a lot of benefit for people I don't even know, you know. Um, but for me personally, it was great to know that this person had bought the life insurance and the company paid and everything, so I was able to give um that check to that spouse, and yes, it's not going to solve the spouse they had been married to for like 40 years, no, that no one's going to replace that. But at least knowing that financially the family could grieve in peace, and not have to worry about things for a little bit, um, it's life changing, for them.
And I what I was trying to get to is this is something. All right, everybody. I'll be a little personal about this. I have a folder for my wife with all my information so that if I were to die, she knows where to go. She goes, pick this folder up. It has my will in it. It has all documentation that she needs so that she can make the phone call she needs to make. And it's not so the burden is not her trying to round up and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
This is the type of stuff that we as veterans, as much as we like to say, and you'll hear me say it all the time, we're the top 4% of the United States because we served. We answered the call. But the deal
Right.
is, guys, because we served, we got hurt. Sometimes we don't even know we got hurt. Like I said, guys didn't know they had the Gulf War syndrome. Guys didn't know they had Agent Orange until they did. I've known guys, they got out of the service, they retired, and in less than 5 years, started having heart attacks because they stopped doing things to keep themselves up, and their body just like that went downhill. Stuff happens. You have to be aware of this. And you have to be aware, and you can sit there and say, well, why would I worry about the people that are when I leave? Because you're better than that.
If
You
they would have
too.
only worn their PT belt, drank water, and taken Motrin, it would have been great.
I love it, Koz. Only you. So that's
But I think what you're saying, Owl, is very true, and that's something I've come across. People have told me to my face, like, "Hey, why do I need to leave this money for my kids or for my spouse? They can take care of things, on their own, right?" And to
Mhm.
me, I'm like, wow, that's really sad. I feel bad for whoever their kids are, even if they're adults or whatever the case might be, right? Because I don't know. To me, it's like if you say you care about somebody, then hey, you need to put, like they say, your money where your mouth is, right? And that might be with buying life insurance and having that peace of mind that hey, if something does happen, because we're not invincible, we're not Superman, like that doesn't exist, to know that my spouse, like you said, they know where they need to go, so it's one less thing they have to worry about.
All right, everybody. We're to that point. Um, Again, we don't want to go too far and bring in everybody down. And this has been good information. And, Lorena, thank you very much. This information, we need to be reminded because a lot of us do know this stuff. In the military, they made sure that you filled out your information for your spouse. When you got in, you had to sign all these things saying this, that, and the other thing. if you're not in it, if you're not in anymore, you still got to do it. And that's what we're trying. Having Lorena come here, she's reminding you. You may be a civilian. That doesn't mean you still don't need to take care of things.
Right. Awesome. I appreciate you guys having me on, and I hope it has been valuable information for everybody out there. My best advice is to make an informed decision. Reach out to somebody, a professional in your area, that can provide you with that information that you need.
So, Lorena, do you have a backup plan? Do you have a term life policy?
On myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I think
Did you underwrite that
it's like
yourself?
they say, you can't sell something you don't believe in. So yeah, I'm insured myself. I sold myself the policy.
Good. So you got
There
a
you go.
commission on yourself.
At least the first year, is covered. But yeah, I just hope it's been good information for people out there. And the point was just that information, things that maybe you hadn't thought about or you had, and hopefully it served as a reminder.
Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate
Lorena.
you a lot, Lorena. It's a tough conversation to have because no one wants to think about their own demise and what's after you die.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And everybody's we have someone already saying shots, and thank you for being part of the family.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know if you guys want my website or something. So if anybody that's in Florida or Nebraska can reach out, I'll be more than happy to help them if possible.
We have your details in the description of the show.
Actually, we don't, and
okay,
it's
awesome.
the only reason we don't is because it didn't want to come up.
No.
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
Twitter and a Facebook and everything.
I tried her Facebook; it wouldn't come up. It did what it does to one of our other tags.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to spell it out for everybody. In fact, you know what? I'm going to type it in there. It is because I have it right here in front of me. HTTPS colon / www. Oop, too many. .malmins.com.
Yeah, that's perfect.
That is her website, and I'm going to, and there it went. It went just that quick. Give me half a second. I'm going to copy that. Come on, it's not. Come on, you can do better than that. Guys, what is it doing?
Technology, no?
I'm trying very hard to grab it, and it's trying very hard to make. Oh, you pinned it. Thank you. That's why it grabbed it.
There we go.
Give me half a second, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to put it in our big one, and I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to send it so everybody gets it. There we go, guys.
Thanks again, Lorena.
Thank you.
Certainly appreciate your time. I know you're busy. Florida, wow. Watch out for those hurricanes coming up.
No, they can stay in the Atlantic Ocean. All right, thank you guys so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
You do good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. We are at that time that it is at the end of the show, so we have some house cleaning that we need to take care of.
You need to take care of because I don't have that text in front of me. I know that we have 2 Tuesday shows, like a week apart from each other, which have really badass guests.
Well, so far I only have one.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I have the 26th, which is this Tuesday. We have Addison Williams. Addison Williams is the CEO and marketing strategist of the 92 to Go. Prior to marketing within an agency environment, Addison oversaw marketing, public relations, and public service messaging with U.S. Special Operations Command. He will be on this Tuesday. And
the following Tuesday, on the 2nd of June, comedian Adam Keyes, Army veteran and triple amputee comedian Adam Keyes. How can you be a triple amputee?
Yikes.
And be a comedian?
This gotta have a sense of humor.
He's going to be on Pop Culture Warrior on Tuesday, the 2nd of June. to tell us his remarkable story and how his hard work and dedication helped him succeed as a comedian. Adam is also has also words. He's been participating in marathons.
Ooh.
And he's a guest speaker helping veterans to succeed as well. Oh my gosh, I had to reread that like a couple times.
You lost your place.
Triple amputee runs marathons.
Wow.
Dude, if you think you've had a bad day,
just as they say, there's always someone who has it worse.
Check this guy out.
Okay.
So that's coming up. That's Adam Keyes coming up on the 2nd. On top of our lovely guest, Lorena, which came on today, and then on the 26th, Addison Williams.
Yes. And then on the, we do have shows during the week. We have Monday nights with Monday Night Edition, Ice and Flash. Tuesdays, we have Pop Culture War with CQ and Radar. Wednesdays are our meditation or Donza days. And
I prefer Donza.
I know
Donza's
you do.
Good.
But I prefer meditation. And Thursdays are Sergeant's Time with Ice and Spanky. And then we come all the way back to Kicking It with Koz and Owl, which is me.
I say Donzatation.
Donzatation. There you go. So everybody, we are getting to that point. It's time to allow you to go and relax, rest, and get ready for your week. Don't forget, tomorrow is a holiday. So
tomorrow is a holiday, and Camo Boss over in Mixer was asking if there's going to be a show tomorrow. As far as I know, there is.
Yeah, as far as I know. And that's a good question. There has not been anything said otherwise, nor have there been any postings. So I would, and I'm not going to say it, I would take a guess that there is going to be. Yes. I'm not going to use the ASSUME word.
Ice ain't no slacker.
Exactly.
He's probably going to do it.
So everybody, y'all have a good week. Don't forget, tomorrow is a day off for everybody. Everybody is going to have a time to party. Don't go too far. Don't get yourself in trouble. Don't drink and drive. And do allow yourself to have some fun.
An interesting story.
Yes.
We have time for an interesting story?
Go for it.
Last night I had chilies delivered to my house.
Ooh.
And it was delivered by a very gorgeous young lady.
Oh.
Tawny from Grubhub. And she delivered my food. And I was shocked. She was absolutely beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And she handed me my food. And she goes, "Hey, Koz, here's your food." I said, "Thank you very much. I hope you have a great weekend." And she said, "Happy Memorial Day. Happy Memorial." And I'm like, it's not a happy time. It's a time for, and I told her I'm grateful for Memorial Day.
Yes.
So be grateful on Memorial Day for your fallen veterans. And Veterans Day is in appreciation for veterans in active duty. Memorial Day is to be grateful for our fallen brothers and sisters. So let's be grateful tomorrow.
And when I say don't, have some fun, raise your glass for someone you knew and give them a cheer.
You didn't know.
Or someone you didn't know. Yeah. We're all brothers and sisters. Raise your glass for someone. Give them a cheer and let them know you're thankful for them. Because that's what we're that's us. All right, everybody. We are to that point. Have a good rest of your week. We will be back on next Sunday.
I tried to talk Owl into staying on for an extra hour just to play some EDM, and then we can dance on the cameras and stuff. But he said no. So we're gonna end the show. So this is Owl's fault.
Oh, gee, sure, blame it on me. Why not? Everybody, as I always say, keep it real, keep it simple, and don't forget to smile, because you just don't know who you're going to help, including yourself. Any words of wisdom from you?
Wash your hands. I do. Actually, I do. And this is a quote from, oh my gosh, where is it? I saved it because I told everybody last week that I would have something for this week.
Yes, you did.
Okay, so you're supposed to sing a song now.
I am.
No, not really. Okay. Bruce Lee, and this is a quote from Bruce Lee. Do not speak negatively about yourself, even as a joke. Your body doesn't know the difference. Words are energy and can cast spells. That's
Wow.
why it's called spelling.
Wow.
Change the way you speak about yourself, and you can change your life. What you're not changing, you're also choosing.
This is coming from Koz, everybody. Wow.
It's coming from Bruce Lee. I'm just reading it.
Yeah, but you went the extra mile to find something like that. That's good. That is really good.
Treat yourself right.
Treat yourself right. All right, everybody. Thank you for showing up. We enjoyed having our time. We love you all. And we will see you next week without a doubt.
This has been so much fun. Thank you all very much for tuning in. And we're out.
Shots.
Shots.
Motar, I need a reset to my spot. I hear the call. Just gone fishing. Let her know that I ain't gone. I got my tackle box in the front seat and my best friend in the bed. Don't come looking for me, 'cause I ain't coming home till long after that sunset. I smell the honeysuckle blooms. I can see the red buds too. I got the rods in my garage down through my John boat in the truck. Filled my camo cooler up. I hit the reset in my spot. Heeded that call. Just gone fishing. Let her know that I ain't. No, I ain't gone messing, just gone fishing. Let her know that I ain't gone.
WTF Nation Radio.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place.